situations that reliably cause your child to engage in maladaptive behavior, but you know what he's trying to communicate. Look for an opportunity to prompt a better way before he can begin to engage in maladaptive behavior. So for example, if every time you go to the grocery store, your child always wants to ride in one of those car carts, and if you try to get a basket or a regular grocery cart, he'll flop on the floor. Instead, as soon as you walk in the front door, help him hand lead you to the car carts so that he can learn, oh, he can just show you that by walking over there with you. Look for opportunities to teach new specific adaptive behavior for situations in which your child typically engages in maladaptive behavior. Look for really small steps that you can take to shape the behavior rather than looking at what might be the most socially appropriate or the most adaptive. So for example, if you have a puzzle piece and your child wants that piece for his puzzle and he typically just reaches over and grabs it from you, instead you can show him how to reach for it and then pass it to him. If your child is already reaching for the things that he wants, you can use your hand and shape his hand into a point before you give it to him. Or if your child typically pulls you around the house to go to different places, you could teach him to go a little bit more slowly and engage in more deliberate hand leading rather than yanking you around. Once you've identified a new form you're going to teach, set up many opportunities to practice doing that same form multiple times within the same activity. The more your child uses the new form, the more strong that becomes to replace the old maladaptive way. So for example, if they enjoy blowing bubbles and you're working on teaching them to model a blowing noise for you to blow the bubbles, blow a little bit of bubbles each time, many times in a row, so that they get access to lots of fun bubbles, but they have to practice that blowing motion many times in a short time. Or if your child enjoys putting cars down a racetrack or pieces in a puzzle, if they've pointed to it, don't give them the whole thing, give them one or two pieces, and then help them to point again to the next piece so that they have many opportunities to practice the point to get what they want. When children with more language find themselves in stressful situations or in a situation for which they can't easily think of the language they need, they may revert to using maladaptive behavior to get their needs met. In these situations, just give them the really specific language they need to solve their problem. For example, if your child is trying to reach a toy that's high on a shelf and he's already tried a couple of things to reach it and he hasn't gotten it yet, you can give him the language to say, for example, "It's too high, can you help me reach it?" and then help him do so. Another good way to practice this is to create a problem for which you know the solution and you know what your child would be wanting to communicate. So for example, you could give your child a toy car track with no cars and then model the language for him, "Where are the cars?" And as soon as he says that, you can produce the cars. Throughout this series, we will be discussing the importance of variety and flexibility across everything you do. However, when you have a child who insists on sameness or likes routine or repetition and engages in maladaptive behavior to access that routine or that sameness, it's really important to first address that by teaching him appropriate ways to ask for that sameness and that routine before you work on flexibility and variety. So for a child who will only eat cereal with a purple spoon, you want to practice doing things like giving him the blue spoon, and as soon as you hand him the blue spoon, model the language to appropriately solve that. For example, "This is the wrong color, where's my purple spoon?" Once you have now given him a good set of language or other communication methods to get access to that same thing, then you can begin to work on accepting variety. If you're not already accessing services from a speech and language pathologist or SLP, now would be a really good time to start exploring that. An SLP can work on valuable early communication skills with you and your child and can help you explore the possibility of augmentative and alternative communication if appropriate, such as PECs or a communication device.